guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. So I've gotten approval from a bunch of different authors on Reddit, from a bunch of different forums, and I'm really excited to jump into these stories. So as per usual, loud ass cars going by, crows, birds, all of the noises from outside. Outside is extremely loud today, so I apologize for that. If you can hear it in my videos, there's nothing I can do about it. They will not stop, and I need to move. We have the Wicked candle that I always have going. It's not lit or anything because it's strong enough. I don't need it. It smells like caramel apple. We have a new Starbucks tumbler. If you guys watched my Starbucks taste testing the fall menu, this was a cup that I got during the fall. Well, I mean, like 2 days ago. And it has lemonade in it. I was actually reached out by this author today. They reached out to me over Reddit. They DM'd me and asked me if I wanted to read one of their stories. So I read it and I really liked it, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So this is from the author OKU9707. We've actually read some of their stories before in the past. So hi, welcome back. Thanks for sending me another story. And this one is called Sleep Paralysis is the Worst. I suffer from sleep paralysis occasionally. Anyone who has experienced it can tell you how surreal it can be. Visual and auditory hallucinations are not uncommon and can often leave you with this undescribable feeling of offness for even days after the actual episode. I had one once where I swore I was awake and saw a person standing at the foot of my bed just watching me. I couldn't move. Obviously, as the term sleep paralysis implies. I couldn't call out or warn my wife sleeping next to me, and I had to just pray nothing bad happened while I lay vulnerable, partially covered by my sheets. Eventually, I fell into a fitful sleep, and that was that. I felt unnerved, but I recognized it for what it was, and I filed it away in my brain under, that's weird. Sometimes, the experiences can be even more vivid and bizarre, and you swear, even after you wake up, that whatever you saw or heard was real, and you just have to realize it's not, and there's a logical scientific explanation, or at least theories as to why this happens. The worst one I've ever had, though, was 2 nights ago. I woke up, or feel like I'm awake, laying on my back with my arms down by my sides, but above the covers, with the rest of my body below. I sleep kind of propped up using 3 pillows. I feel like this helps with my snoring, but my wife would probably tell you different. In this position, when I woke, in the sleep paralysis state, I could see the doorway to our bedroom, which we keep open so our German Shepherd can get in and out to use the bathroom. Almost as I was awake, I felt this dread, try to shift under my covers, and kind of half realize what's happening. My muddled brain thinks, crap, not again. I start imagining shapes in the doorway, and of course, I'm completely terrified because there's nothing I can do but ride it out till I either wake up completely or fall back asleep. Pretty soon, the auditory hallucinations began. I hear what sounds like a cross between hand clapping and the slap of bare feet. It sounds like more than just one set of feet, if that's what they are, but they're kind of synchronized, like it's something quadruple. And to my absolute horror, see what looks to be some hulking but oddly graceful shape on all fours, prancing into the bedroom and right up to my side, where it just stands right out of my view. No more sounds, no more movement, just me, laying there in blind panic, praying that I wake up and I can finally move my head enough to look over, see it's not real, and watch a random, lighthearted episode of Futurama till I relax enough to fall back asleep. Eventually, that's exactly what happened. This happened roughly around 1:15 a.m., or at least that's when I finally woke up, for real, and checked my phone. I finally got back to sleep around 2:45. The last sound I remember before falling asleep was my dog shifting around on the floor on the side of my bed, her collar jingling, and I chuckle a bit to myself about how my brain turned an image of our dog getting up in the middle of the night into this 4-legged monstrosity I was terrified of earlier. My alarm goes off promptly at 6 a.m. and I'm dragging due to how little sleep I got. The memory of my sleep paralysis episode is still fresh in my mind, along with the noises I couldn't quite place. The one that sounded like a cross between hand clapping and of slapping feet, and the image of the hulking yet oddly graceful creature prancing into our room last night plays itself out into my foggy brain. I began going about my normal morning, getting ready for work, my routine, and stumble into the kitchen to make a pot of coffee when I notice the potted plant by our back door is knocked over and soil and broken pottery is spilled all over the floor. Some of the mess was clearly tracked over toward the direction of our bedroom that grows less and less until the trail disappears a few feet from the doorway, which must have been how I didn't notice immediately in my groggy state. Great. Our lovable but squirrely shepherd knocked over the plant on her way out the doggy door last night to do her business, and now I have to add cleaning that up to my morning rush. As I approached the spot, I noticed what I at first take to be paw prints in the soily mess, but I began to slowly raise my eyebrows in surprise because they are huge, like way bigger than anything our dog's paws would have been able to make. But as I step even closer, and begin to kneel down for a closer look, my heart misses a beat and I just cannot process what I'm seeing. To my abject horror, I can see them for what they really are. Those aren't paw prints leading to our bedroom. They're many sets of large handprints. And that's all the end of the story. Okay, I have goosebumps. My hair is literally standing up. Fuck that. You have an intruder in your house and like you're in the middle of sleep paralysis and you think it's a monstrosity, but it's a fucking person on all fours? That's terrifying. Fuck that. No, thank you. So this is from the no sleep section on Reddit, and this is from the author Me Rose Spider. This one is titled, I found an old book, but Google search results keep coming up blank. I'm a bit of a bibliophile, and collecting antique books has always been a bit of a hobby for me. I recently even got into the business of rebinding and restoring, which has been a great boon for me. Some of my more prized restorations have actually sold for quite a bit of money. Most recently, I was gifted an original copy of the Pizzazz Tales by Herman Melville. I managed to rebind that while keeping the integrity of the pages intact, and sold it to a literary fanatic for several $1,000s, but I'm getting off topic. It's not uncommon for people to show up at my office concerning my book hobby. I'm an associate professor of English literature at a college. I won't use names to protect my identity of myself and my colleagues, but as many of you have probably guessed, my job and hobby tend to run in the same social circles. It's not uncommon for other professors to drop something in my lap, even just for appraisal. Like I said, book collecting and restoration has been quite the boon for me. If I did it full time, I likely would exceed my moderate salary. The man came during the office hours. He smelled musty, as if he had been locked in an attic for several years, and decided today was the day for fresh air. He wore a brown trench coat and a top hat. Weird combination, but when you work in the university system, you are desensitized to how people are dressed. A student came into my office wearing a gorilla costume, and before you ask, that was in March, not October. His grin is what got me though. It wasn't completely out of the ordinary, but it seemed so forced. When he sat down in the chair across from me, the musty smell of the stale air intensified, and I began to feel lightheaded. He then spoke for the first time, a raspy voice that felt like it belonged to a much older man. So, I hear you are in the business of collecting old books, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it. I'm sorry, sir, but there's no smoking allowed in here, I said, but frankly, the smell of the burning cigarette was preferable to the must. He seemingly ignored me as he began to inhale. I have a book for you, and I'm sure you'll find it an excellent addition to your collection. I decided to pivot and focus on getting him out of the building as soon as possible. What kind of book is it? I had asked. I was genuinely interested. It's not every day an eccentric man walks into your office with a potential book to purchase. Well, that depends, I guess, the man said with a grin returning. I felt my stomach lurch when I gazed upon his grin again. How much do you want for it? I quickly replied, hoping to get him out of my sight as quickly as possible. Oh, I wouldn't feel comfortable selling it to you. Consider it a gift of good faith, he replied. It was at this moment that I began to feel his grin shift from uncomfortable to something else. I do not want to use the word supernatural as a rational human and educator, but I had never seen a human look at me the way the man did. It was unnatural, which left me at a crossroads. Do I turn this man away and not accept his gift, or do I take it and get him to leave quicker? I chose the latter. He handed me a dusty leather-bound book with thick pages. It had to be old. Just feeling the weight of this thing, you could tell it had a presence, which new books just don't have. I waited for him to leave and for the musty smell to dissipate before I opened it. I'm sorry, I cannot read Latin, so I'm going to try my best here. Corpus Arcanum Alharmentium. I don't know if I said that right at all. The title sounded Latin to me. Okay. The title sounded Latin to me, which the first two words are. Corpus means the body, and arcanum means secret. So the secret body of Alharmentium was the closest English translation I could come up with, since all searches for that came back blank. I figured I would need to look up the archives of the classics department to find out any more significant information, so I tucked it in my bag and decided to call it a day. The first night, strange things began to happen to me. I was usually not a light sleeper, so it takes quite a bit to wake me up. The aggressive banging on my closet doors was definitely enough to get the job done. At first, I thought I was still asleep, but I got up, kicked my bedpost, and felt pain shoot up my foot, so I know I wasn't just dreaming. I turned on my lights to inspect the closet, but it was completely normal. I shook it off and went back to sleep. The scream affected me a bit differently. I don't know if any of you have ever been woken up to a scream, but the body immediately goes into a brief shock, followed by an intense flight or fight sequence. My body jolted awake. Eyes began to dart across the room, which appeared to be darker than normal to me. That realization making my heart rate increase. That's when I saw it, standing in the corner next to my closet. It appeared human, but its limbs were impossibly long, and it wore what looked like a bone mask on its face. I let out a noise, a yell to be precise, and its head suddenly jerked towards me, and with an unfathomable speed, it charged at me. I woke up soaking wet after this. It was a dream, just a nightmare, yet the scratches on my closet told a different story. The scrapes, which looked like claw marks on my floor, tell a different story. I stayed awake the next night just to see if something were to happen. The next night, I got a hotel room. I've never had sleep paralysis before, but in that hotel room, it was hell. I woke at 1:07 a.m. to the room shifting before me, transforming. I melded and morphed into my bedroom, and as I lay frozen, with only my eyes being able to move, that thing was back. And it whispered to me in some garbled tongue of which I had never heard before. That was when I woke back in my bedroom that I really began to freak out. This happened 2 nights ago, and I'm afraid to go to sleep. I sit in my office, typing this, trying to stay awake. I don't know if the book is to blame, but I tried to get rid of it. I first threw it in the trash at work. It ended up on my desk a few hours later. It was then that I tried to throw it in the river. I found it on my desk, completely dry, with the papers that were under it soaking wet. As my eyes begin to close, all I can picture is that man's grin. And that's where they stopped the story. Oh my God. I would love to have an update on that and know if that person actually got some relief and sleep and if the monster is still tormenting them. These are both videos of sleep paralysis. I really don't like sleep paralysis. I've only ever experienced it once in my life and it was terrifying. I was at my parents' house and I was sleeping on my side closest, like facing the wall where the window was, and I felt and heard something come into the room, and like I felt them like come across my floor, like I heard them walk across my floor and they were like breathing in my ear behind me and I could not move, and then all of a sudden it released me and then I spun around and I like finally woke up and nothing was there. I said fuck that, and I got up and left and I went to my boyfriend's house because screw that. I'm sorry for the loud cars. I tried my best to stop reading when they were being aggressively loud outside, but they keep going by. So I think this is where I'm gonna end the video here. We're already at the 17-minute mark and the cars will not shut the fuck up. It's really, really hot in here and I just wanna go edit this and post this as soon as possible for you guys. So let me know in the comments down below if you guys are enjoying this series. If you guys have any scary stories, no sleep stories, let's not meet stories for me, let me know in the comments down below. So thank you again to these authors for allowing me to read their stories. I actually had one reach out to me today and asked me if I could read their story for them, and that is the coolest feeling ever. So thank you so much. If you guys have any stories you want me to read on my channel that are fairly long, I don't really like to read super short ones. I've had a couple people comment asking me to read their story and they're just a little bit too short. So if you have longer stories that you want me to read, please send me a DM on Instagram or Reddit or wherever, and I will try to read them as long as they're appropriate for YouTube. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye!